So I'm just going to go ahead and just dive into the video. I know this isn't going to be perfect, but again, this is on me. This is set it up on my home computer, and I probably don't have all the settings correct that I need. So I will chat with my resident expert, Scott, to help us get through that. So bouncing back into our the agenda. Um, I already talked about the fact that, hi everybody, we miss you. The YouTube channel changed because of support issues with our other email address, and we wanted to consolidate things into a different account. So let's go ahead and just launch into the actual full agenda itself. So first on the agenda was introducing a new member of our team. He's not actually in our hangout for him to introduce himself, but we have a member of the help desk team who's been embedded with our service. His name is Dan Ibarra. Um, and likely those of you who have been sending in tickets, you have interacted with him. He has been sort of our front line for grabbing some of those tickets and answering them. So I just want you all to know who he is, why you're starting to see uh, some uh, some emails from him while you're interacting with him. He's now a member of the team. We're glad to have him because he will help us a lot because of the fact that he has a lot of experience just in working with customers, working with users, and he has some insights into also working with um, Google Groups and then just in general, just processes of support. So we're eager to leverage his experience and his knowledge into our service. Um, Next up, I just wanted to touch on some of the things that I have been doing from a support standpoint, and that is updating some of the knowledge base documents that we have with actual videos to go along with the support aspect of the KB documents. So I'll just pop out to our knowledge base, so kb.wisc.edu/WiscWeb, and um, in there, I'm going to go down to more recent docs because it's actually a little bit further back where I started to add these, but then, um, again, things got busy again. But what I've been doing is for at least the page elements. So, for example, the accordion page element, what I did was I actually recorded a little tutorial video to walk people through um, how to do this stuff. So I'll just maximize this real quick. Um, and then you'll see it's just kind of a walkthrough process of how to do this. So, this is mainly to assist folks who um, uh, learn by seeing more than reading. That's very much me. I learn by watching other people do things rather than um, uh, reading through things. Step by step works, but I'm very much a watch and learn kind of person. So I've been recording some of these out and putting them up into our, or at least into my Kaltura media space. I chose Kaltura to host these because with YouTube, you always get that at the end of a YouTube video. It's always these other recommendation. Um, uh, oh, people are losing the video. Bye. Sorry about that. Again, I'll iron this out for the next one. My bad. Um, Kaltura, it's just the video. It doesn't have any of the suggested videos to watch or anything of that nature. It's just the video that I'm providing for you. So I'm doing this through Kaltura now, um, and I mean that's basically what that topic is about. Is just adding in some additional video how to rather than anything else. Let's see. Next on the topic is continued work on system performance. So again, as I said, a lot of the work that we've been doing is in the background of service performance, working on the system, working in AWS to try and make things a little easier um, to use from a team standpoint, but also to make sure that things are actually working um, as well as possible from a user or from a visitor standpoint, so people who are coming to your sites. So I'll kind of yield the floor now to, I guess, Jenna first, and then subsequently Phil, and then maybe Jason if he would want to pop in to talk a little bit about what he's doing as well. But I'll kind of yield the floor to Jenna to kind of chat through um, some of that information, and then into Phil as well. So go.
Specifically on performance, are you saying, Matt?
Yeah, yeah. Talk a little bit about what we've been doing from a performance standpoint.
Yeah. Phil and Jason will definitely be able to describe this better, but we've been working on transitioning our service from a network load balancer setup to an application load balancer setup. And that allows us to do a few things. It allows us more easily set up SSL certificates for the service. So that process was a little time consuming previously, and having that be in AWS under the application load balancer makes it a little bit easier, although right now it's probably not the easiest because we're in sort of an interim stage. But being on the application load balancer opens up a lot of doors for us in terms of security. So it allows us to apply things like Amazon's advanced shield technology, which just adds another layer of protection to the service. So that's not in place yet, but now that we've moved to the application load balancer, we're now able to kind of go in that direction. Anything from Phil and Jason on it?
I think you touched on the main points. You know, the motivation was partially administrative to ease the process of dealing with the certificates. And also, I think one hard to notice effect will be that when we do get fully through the transition, startup times are going to improve for the server, because we've removed the responsibility from WiscWeb servers for managing those certificates out to the application load balancer. So a bit of a divide and conquer to balance the startup time out a little bit better.
Jason, are you able to kind of give an overview of what a network load balancer does versus what an application load balancer does?
Yeah, I can try to, I'll wing it a little bit here, but basically instead of passing network traffic over indiscriminately, it is instead handling it at the HTTP level, so that we have, at the load balancer, we have actually access to HTTP kind of routing mechanisms versus network level routing mechanisms. This allows us to actually protect against malicious requests, because we'll be able to see them at the load balancer. And that's where AWS's Shield comes into play. We could not do that reasonably well at the network level with the network load balancer, which meant that all of our defense tools had to basically run on the web server. So with this in place now, as new tools come about that can work at the network layer, we can put them in place. Yeah, so does that help?
I'll just add some. This is Phil. Just going to add a couple technical details there as well. So exactly as Jason said, in what was our February, March timeframe kind of thing, where we had some issues with some malicious attacks. The only things we could do were, like if there was anything we could tweak on WordFence, which is again inside of WordPress, or basically at mod security, which is again at kind of like the each individual server level. Jason mentioned this one puts another fence, if you will, or another defense thing we can put in place to configure even earlier in a request. So if a request is bad, we're going to have the chance to throw that out even sooner, instead of having to configure things on web servers that might have already been really busy from either legitimate or maybe illegitimate traffic. So we're pretty excited about that functionality. And as far as progress is concerned, a lot of this was based on where the DNS is actually hosted for each individual site. And so we've gotten, I think, is it 500 or 600 of the sites moved over. There's hundreds to go still at this point. We've got a huge batch through, so that's a really good progress. That's all I had.
Okay. I guess anything else that we've done in the background to improve performance, improve stability, etc., security.
I think we continue to look at like plugin usage across
Yeah.
the service. So where we're seeing plugins that are have very low usage, and I'm talking like 2 sites out of 1,400. We are working with those customers to remove those plugins from their sites, and then ultimately removing them from the service, because the less plugins that we have activated in our multi-site instance, the faster things should be.
Okay.
We've also made adjustments to the auto scaling of the backend servers. So I think we have, and Phil, you probably know the details better than I do, but I think we have more powerful servers and potentially more of them. That was a change that went into place while we were fighting with some of the botnet attacks at the end of February.
Yeah, exactly, Jason. So what we did is we doubled our normal of having 3 servers in production to 6 as a fit gap to be able to just deal with spikes that come in. So if they're very quickly, they come in with a whole bunch of traffic. We've just have more hardware there to deal with it. The goal is that since we're going to be doing this offloading of the SSL processing to the load balancers, we might be able to go back down to those 3 reasonably soon. And then also just the web servers are doing less work. So we might not even need 3, or maybe we can even use 3 of a smaller size. So there's some potential options there in the future as well. Cool.
Okay. So yeah, things are happening in the background to continue to improve service. We see ups, we see downs. Sometimes it's on us, sometimes it's not, and we have to look at AWS and see what might be happening if we need to do our server restart and things like that. A lot of you don't hesitate to get in touch with us whenever you notice any slowness with your sites, so continue to do that. There are times when it is service related. There are times when it is um, somewhere in AWS that we have to look. And sometimes it might just be a caching thing where we just need to look at your site specifically and take a look at what might be happening. So if you do notice any slowness, and again, I say that reminding you all that logged in, you are going to experience some slowness when you're authenticated into the system and you're editing your site, like this, when you're actually logged into the site. Um, it's going to be a little bit slower. I would always check what it's like when you're not logged into your site. So in a new browser window or in a different browser or in an incognito window to take a look at that. So, okay, so that's the continued work on the system performance. Um, next up is to chat about some of the quality of life functionality that we have added over the past couple of months. So we have done some development on some WiscWeb specific plugin functionality to assist all of you with some of the processes that you reach out to us for. We kind of want to put some of that power into your hand as site administrators. So the first one is, and it's the one that we released, about a month ago, I'd say now. But that is the process of adding new users by NetID. And so one of the nice things that this does is it allows you to add users only by knowing a person's NetID. You don't need to know um, their preferred email address, any other email addresses that they might use. So long as you have a user's NetID, you can add them to your site. And so you do that by, in your dashboard area, you would hover over users and you would add by NetID. And in here, it would prompt you for the NetID. I need to remember all the various test NetIDs that I have. Um, and then you can specify what role. So it defaults to editor. You can choose editor or administrator. The only thing that I want to always make sure I point out is remember only administrators have access to the plugins. So if you're adding someone and you want to make sure that they're able to use any of the plugins that you make avail or that you have within your site, they have to be an administrator role for them to get access to that. But then if you click Add User, they are added, and the next time that they log in, that will authenticate them into the system and subsequently populate the information for them. I just winged this. I don't actually remember which Bucky Badger NetID that I have to tinker around with, but it will populate this information in for them, and then they will also have access to the site underneath their My Sites section up here. So this was again just a quality of life improvement, I guess, for all of us, because on one end it puts more power in your hands to add users without needing to know preferred email addresses and all that. And then on our end, this was by far the highest percentage of tickets that we would get on a regular basis. Was just you as administrators, the broad you as administrators needing to add users to your sites, and it either kicking back user not found or user already exists or some error that would just be very confusing to you. This way, you just need to know their net ID, give them a role, and that's that. It's hopefully pretty straightforward, and we have documented it um, in our knowledge base, this process. Where to go? Adding a user to your site. So it's kbdoc 102108. And it just walks through the process of adding them to the site. Jenna, anything to add to that? I think that one's pretty straightforward.
Sorry, having trouble unmuting.
It's the muting. Yeah.
No, I'm just hoping that that is helpful to everyone else as it has been to us. Like, we're really excited about it, and snaps to Scott.
Yeah. Yeah. Scott Berg, who's not with us today, was one of the developers. I know, David, did you work on this one as well? I can't recall. I know there was one that had both of you working on it. You started like initial process, I think, and Scott finished the initial process. Our developers rock.
Yeah, I did the legwork for the research on this whole
Yep.
process, and then Scott took over the development part.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like most of you interact with myself or Jenna the most, but our developers deserve all of the props for a lot of the stuff that goes into the theme that goes into WiscWeb because of the work that they do. They are outstanding. Okay, so that was the AdNet ID process. So the next one to introduce, I just want to make sure I have the chat up here still. Get back here. Okay. So the next one to introduce is one that we haven't yet launched completely to the service across the board, but it is something that will be coming soon, and that is a self-service plugin activation process. And so essentially what this is going to do is this is going to allow you all as administrators of your site to toggle on or toggle off to activate or deactivate certain plugins that are essentially the usual plugins that we use within our service. So to demonstrate this, I'm in the QA environment, our QA environment, and I'm logged in as just one of my user accounts. So I'm going to go to, let's see, let's do Wiseman just because I know this is the one that I have been tinkering with its plugins in QA. So what will happen is when you're looking at your dashboard screen, you will now see as an administrator the plugins section. So if I click on plugins, you will now see a specific list of plugins that you can activate or deactivate as you desire. Um, Also in here, you will see a tooltip function. This is one of the things that we're still trying to iron out, is getting these things to link to the new the KB docs for all this stuff. Um, but you will have the option to activate or deactivate specific plugins that we use on a regular basis. And these really are just the ones that are most notably used for your sites, which are Gravity Forms, WP Data Tables, the events calendar, Google XML sitemaps is in there. And these are the ones that I have in QA. I can't remember off the top of my head what other ones we're activating in production. Jenna, do you remember? Because I know you were the one clicking the buttons that day.
I don't remember.
Okay. I was trying to remember if Social Share was one of them. Um,
Like
I don't
sitemap.
publications. I don't know if we were allowing publications to be turned on. Oh yeah, I think
The
pubs
only
was going to be.
the only four that we were gonna do right now was the events calendar, Gravity Forms, WP data tables, and I think it was the XML sitemaps.
Yeah, yep,
But over time, as we test this further, we'll be rolling out others.
yep, yep. Okay. So essentially, this process is there. You can activate a plugin. I will deactivate data tables. Again, this is in QA. Don't worry, Linda. I'm not messing with your site live. But I'll deactivate WP data tables. And so now what'll happen is when you don't have something activated, you will be able to activate it um, on your own. And then it activates. You can deactivate it if you so desire. A couple of things that we're trying to work on right now with this self-service process. One is getting these links to work so that my helper text can link out to the KB documents that are available. And then also this is a new thing with the events calendar, this opt-in thing. Scott is trying to investigate whether or not he can get rid of this. Um, Events calendar has an opt-in like data tracking collection thing. We don't want that on for any of your sites. So we're trying to figure out a way to get rid of that. Otherwise, there's going to be a very large, bold, do not click this um, in there. But we don't want that being clicked into there. Um, and that's really it for this one. It should be live soon. Scott's been working on it. He has to test a lot of things locally, then push it up to our QA and dev environment, and then once we're confident with it in the QA and dev environment, we will push it over to production. And I'll send out a communication with a link to the knowledge base document that'll kind of talk through what these processes are. But this one we're pretty excited about as well because, again, it puts more control of your site into your hands rather than you having to rely on us for doing a lot of that stuff. So, I guess at this moment, I will also just put in the note about these are plugins that are a part of the WiscWeb service. They're curated by us. They're tested by us and implemented. We're in a rough spot for adding new plugins. We get asked a lot to add a certain plugin for a particular site. We don't have the capacity to um, research, test, troubleshoot, and support the many plugins that people could use. We really do wish it was as easy as go ahead. Um, but because this is a service, because we have to support these, you know, over 1,000 sites, it's just not easy for us to take one plugin um, and put it into there and then hope it works every time we do a WordPress update, we do a UW theme update, we do an update to say events calendar and hope that it works well with Gravity Forms. It doesn't, mess with anything. Um, so we keep it as simple as possible for you/us, um, so that the service keeps running as smoothly as possible. And we know that's a bummer for folks. We understand, but we have to live in that world because we have to be able to support all of you on a regular basis. So let's see. I think that being said, I will move on to the last topic that I have in my list, which is just the in-person support, the quote unquote in-person support. So obviously, we're not on campus. Obviously, for the foreseeable future, we're not going to be on campus. The Open Labs was our way for the team to interact with you and for you to interact with us on a regular basis. Um, so that being said, I tried to do an open lab through Teams once. I mean, it's hard to schedule things on your end with the way that work is, and on our end with the very many responsibilities that we have going on. Um, so basically, what I am offering out to you at the moment is a couple of things. First and foremost, I sent out the information about the WiscWeb Open Labs, but we do have an Open Labs um, channel that we do have a number of folks in. There are some questions to get thrown out in there, and there's a bit of interaction in there. But we do, it's a way for sort of like peer support. And I'm in there as well. So if I see it and can respond to it, I will try um, my hardest to interact with all of you. That being said, I'm in Teams. My Teams chat is in my signature when you receive emails from me. I am the conduit for sort of the training and support for this. So I really do encourage you all, if you have a question, drop me an email. I have scheduled many one-on-one chats with folks through Teams. It just works nice that I can share my screen and I can sort of see you and you can see me, quote unquote, so that we can kind of just interact that way. It's a lot easier, at least for me, to do that through Teams than it is through emails back and forth. So don't hesitate to get in touch with me to chat about uh, um, anything that you might have going on and any support stuff that you might need help with. Most of the team is available, but I would say let me be the one who maybe would get you in touch with people if you reached out to me or if you reach out to our support email list to try and schedule some things with us. Um, Mainly because I don't want to have Jenna, Phil, even Jason, David, any of those folks um, have to field some things that are just it's quicker if I just answer them. So that's kind of why I throw myself in front of all of you to basically say, uh, hit me. I'm here for you. And then if I can't answer it, I will bump it up and get an answer for you. So that was basically it. I just wanted to make sure that everybody could get in touch with us and knew how to get in touch with us either through Teams, through email. Um, there's also the WordPress. Um, Sorry, what is it? What is it? The WordPress community? I can't remember the name of it, Jenna.
I think it's, yeah.
I can't remember.
I'll
Sorry.
post the link to the page on our site.
It's the
The community of practice. WordPress
community
is
of practice. Thank you. It completely left my brain.
there you go. I'll post it in the
Yeah,
chat on.
yeah. There's also the WordPress community of practice group who also is a good peer group to touch base with. Um, Yeah, I guess anything else from the team standpoint, things that are coming up, things that we're working on. Um, we're looking at, let's see, things that are coming up. I'll just touch on. Obviously, you can see there's a new version of Gravity Forms out there. We're going to be testing new versions of, I believe, Gravity Forms, Events Calendar, and Data Tables. David, is it all three that are going to be going into QA and
Not
dev?
data table.
Not data tables. Okay, so Gravity Forms and Events Calendar, we're going to be testing those and releasing updates to those within the next few weeks, next couple of weeks. WordPress itself has also updated to a new version. It's mostly a security update rather than any sort of front end functionality there. So we'll be updating WordPress to 5.4.2 soon as well. So those are things that are coming up. We're looking at theme updates as well. We have a gigantic wish list of things that we'd like to poke at. Um, we're going to work with marketing to see what things need to be looked at for improvements within the UW theme or additions within the UW theme. That'll hopefully be coming up in the next few months. We haven't had a real theme release for a while now, so everything's just gotten pushed back because of obvious reasons. So we are going to be doing that as well. So, anything else? The crowd
I
is
can't think
silent.
of anything. I
Yeah,
think that pretty much
I think
covers
that covers it. Yeah,
it.
I can't think of it. It's like I'm trying to. I'm also vamping for time because the stream delay. Just having people catch up so that they can um, uh, pop in any questions before I cut this. I do have to cut this at 1 though because of other um, we have other things that we have to get to. So I guess I'll leave it at that. It's on my clock. It's 12:55. Um, we'll end the lunch and learn there. Thank you all for attending. I apologize, sincerely apologize for the um, messing up at the beginning. I'll tinker with this so that we have a better experience next time. It's me. I promise you. It's my setup. It's not any of you guys. Uh, but yeah, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Let us know what support you might need. Again, this is a weird world, so yeah. I'm going to mute us. I'm going to hang out here. The team might start to dissipate, but we will go from there. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye.